Hey, Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum.
My name is Subhan.
And my name is Maria, and we're your 2019 registration coordinators this year.
We're so excited to be starting this first registration webinar. We'll
And what we're going to do is we're going to run through basically, this is going to be registration 101. So we're going to run through everything you guys will need to know for registration weekend, but we'd also like to make it open to any questions that you guys may have. So if you have questions, please drop them in the comments. And if you're on a mobile device, you will not be able to drop questions. So we ask then that you guys get on a desktop if you do have questions. And so, welcome again to the webinar, and this is our agenda.
All right, I see that we have a few people in, so let's just go ahead and get started. So our agenda for this webinar is first we're going to go over some of the deadlines, costs, and some of those frequently asked questions that we get for registration. We'll show you some of the resources we have on our website to help you get started as well. After that, we'll do a quick Q&A, go through any questions that you may have specifically, put those in the comments, and we'll be happy to answer them. Around 12:45, we'll start going through Adderpit and just go through everything that you'll have to do from creating an account all the way through getting your team registration finalized. And from there, we should be good to go. But throughout, just ask us your questions and we'll be happy to answer them. So let me go out here and go out to our website. So this is the main Miss Atlanta website. Basically for registration, everything important is under the registration tab and the resources tab. So the very first thing that we have is our registration dates and FAQs. So this year, Miss Atlanta is at the University of Georgia from March 22nd to March 24th. Registration has already opened. It opened on January 11th. Early registration deadline is February 8th. That is less than 2 weeks away. So get registered, get your teams finalized, and hopefully we'll have everything done by then. Late registration deadline is February 28th. So if you do need a bit more time or have a few people left, you do have up until February 28th to get your teams finalized. The early registration fee for competitors is $55. So if you register before February 8th and pay that fee, you will be paying $55. Otherwise, it is $65 if you pay up until February 28th. For coaches, it's $25 regardless of when you register, whether it's early or late. And for guests, it's a $25 for a weekend pass, which is the full 3 days, or $10 for a day pass, which is any 1 day. Guests do have to register through either a coach or a competitor, but you can also register at the day of the event for the same price. So here we have some frequently asked questions for Miss. Basically, the main one we get is who can compete in Miss, and that is anyone in high school or any 8th grader who is 13 by the day of the event, March 22nd. Can compete in Miss. For 8th graders, they have to submit an essay to Miss Atlanta on why they should be allowed to compete. Pending that, we will allow them to compete with the high school that they would normally go to. One of the big things that we're emphasizing this year and that we've always emphasized is that you have to compete with the high school that you go to. We do check registration at the event itself. We ask for ID or proof of enrollment at that school. We are also going behind the scenes and verifying people's addresses, making sure that they are registered with the high school that they are actually registered with Adderpit.
And so another big thing that a lot of people are confused about when it comes to registration is what exactly the school code is and how you can use that. And so the school code is a password of sorts that we use, and it ensures that only people attending your high school are on the Miss team for that school. And it also is what you need if you're trying to make a account on the Adderpit system, or if you're trying to change your school on the AdderPit system. And so what we do is we give these out to team registrars that don't have them, and team registrars are only authorized to give these out to competitors, coaches, and guests that they know are affiliated with that school. And so registrars, if you don't have your school code, please email us and we'll get that to you. And if you are a student registrar, please be sure to CC your coach in on that email so that we know that we're authorized to give this code to you. And another thing that we're really try to emphasize is making sure that everyone has an equal opportunity to take part of Miss Weekend. And we understand that some students do have financial constraints where they can't afford to pay the fees that are on the AdderPit portal. And so every year we offer full and partial scholarships to eligible students, both during the early and late registration periods. So please emphasize to any students that might need it that there is a way that they can compete in Miss and they don't have to worry about finances. And our scholarship application is currently live, and you can find the links on our social media as well as on our website. And so we will be accepting scholarship applications throughout and letting students know when they get them.
And we do have a lot more questions on here about registration that people ask. You're more than welcome to read through these. We're also taking any questions that you have and our comments below. So please just ask us those questions and we'll be happy to answer them. But I do want to show you some important resources that we've put together to help you register, to help you fundraise, and to get prepared for Miss. So our team has put together a Miss presentation. This helps you just go through everything that is Miss, what we do, why we do it, and help you recruit people from your high school to come and compete on your Miss teams. We have a presentation on how you can fundraise for your Miss team. This is to help us as much as it is to help you. Since people do have financial concerns, we want as much people available. We want to have as many scholarships available for people, so we ask that you fundraise first, see if you can come up with the funds for your own team, or at least something, so that we can help you out and help out more people. We also have a registration playlist that goes through everything that you need to do on AdderPit, from basically what your role is, all the way through creating an account, creating a team, registering for events, and finally finalizing your registration deadline. So if you need to contact us, our email is atlanta@getmystified.com. That is the primary way to get in touch with our registration team or anything you need with NIST Atlanta. But you can also comment here on our YouTube video and we'll answer those questions for you.
All right, so until we get a few questions, what we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna start to show you guys how to use the AdderPit system. And so a lot of questions do arise when it comes to creating an account with the AdderPit system. So we're gonna go ahead and show you how to do that right now.
All right. So you'll go in to adderpit.com and click the sign up link. From here, it'll ask you to pick your school, which we have a fake school that we've created, ACE Academy, that will be coming to Miss this year. Your school code, like we mentioned, you have to get from Miss Atlanta, but we have ours here already. And for role, this is where you would pick basically what your role is for this Miss team. For competitors, we ask that you put in student, and this will let you register as a competitor, register for your events. If you work at the school itself, we have faculty or school administration. These are typically teachers who are maybe in charge of the MSA or who are just interested in coming in to help out with the team. If you're maybe related to one of the competitors, or you just are from the community itself that want to help out as coach, we ask that you put in parent, family, or adult community leader. So for this one, we're doing a fake student.
All right, so we have one question that just came in, and that is how can a coach use one email for multiple schools if they have a spirit team? And so we understand that the Adderpit system does ask you for an email every time. So one quick trick that we have to help coaches use the same email for that is to enter your email followed by a +1 and then enter the rest of it. So for example, if your email is atlanta@getmystified.com, in Adderpit, you would enter Atlanta +1 at getmystified.com. And so what that will do is that lets the Adderpit system allow you to create a new account as a coach for the other school, but all the emails that you get will be forwarded to the Miss Atlanta email that you provided. All right, so we have another question that is explain the concept of a spirit team and the changes concerning 15 or more competitors may not join a spirit team. So we established the spirit team system in order to help small schools build a presence at Miss Atlanta because we understand that it can be very overwhelming for people that are new. And so the spirit team system allows schools with less than 15 people on that team to join up with other schools in their area and form a big spirit team. So these spirit teams can compete together in sports, and they also have the same chants and the same uniform, and that helps these teams feel a sense of belonging. And there are 2 caps to keep in mind for spirit teams. The first one is a school greater than 15 competitors cannot be a part of the spirit team system because at 15 competitors, there are enough that that school does have a presence and that they're not overwhelmed by mist. And then the second cap that we have is that a spirit team cannot get larger than 30 students in total. So what that means is if you have 5 schools coming together, but there's 35 students, then we will ask that one of those schools form another spirit team with some other schools rather than stay a part of that one because we want to make sure that one spirit team does not become too big. Okay, and then another question we have is if a student pays before the early registration deadline, but the team is not finalized by that date, will that student have to pay the late registration fee? No, students will not have to pay the late registration fee if they pay the early one. What they will notice is that if they change their competitions after the early registration deadline, which for this year is February 8th, they will be charged a $10 fee on Adderpit, but if that shows up, please email us so we can go ahead and take care of that on our end. Okay, and now we're going to continue with the Adderpit.
Yep, so just going through and creating this account. This will be Miss Student. And I'm just putting in some random numbers here. So basically the main thing to take into account is that you need to have an actual email to put in here. Because when we go ahead to create this, it will send an email to your email file that will have a temporary password that you'll use to log in that first time. After that, you can go ahead and change the password and go from there.
All right, so we have a question from Anonymous Panda. And so spirit teams are not allowed to be over 35 competitors, 30 competitors, not 35. However, there's no cap on how big an individual school can grow. And so what we do keep in mind is that we're checking throughout to help coaches and registrars through the process. And so an individual high school can grow as long as all the students on that team go to that high school. However, we don't let spirit teams go over 30 people. And so if you have any further questions on your specific scenario, please email us so that we can give you a detailed response. And so our email is already in the chat. It's atlanta@getmystified.com. And so if you have any specific things, please contact us there.
All right, for South for Sight, we are talking to them and going through some spirit team things. That is something that we are, we are going through verifying everyone's addresses to make sure that they are registered for the school that they are enrolled in. I believe there was some confusion on how to register for spirit teams. Excuse me. So that is something that we will actually be going for through in our webinar later on, so that we can make sure that we have that settled and we can go from there.
We're currently communicating with the school in question. And so please, don't ask us specific questions right now about a team, but know that we are working on it. It has come to our attention about this. And just a reminder, guys, if you have any specific questions about one team or one school or like a competitor on a team, please email us so that we can make sure that we're giving you the best response possible that is completely thorough and answers every part of your question.
All right, so back to creating this. Once you hit submit, we'll ask you to confirm all the information, and you'll confirm that. Excuse me. And when you do that, it will send an email to the email that you signed up with that has a fake password that you can use to log in.
And so some people, when using the Adderpit system, realize that when they get to this step, they're not able to log into their account. And so just keep in mind that the Adderpit system does not work on Internet Explorer. And so we do ask that people using the website use Google Chrome preferably, and if not Google Chrome, then Firefox. And please make sure that your browsing history and your cookies and cache are clear so that you can use the website smoothly. And so if you ever find that Adderpit has stopped working for your account, please go through and ensure that your browsing history is cleared and that you're using the correct browser. And if it still doesn't work, please try from another computer.
All right, and the first time you log in, the first thing that you'll want to do is go into your profile and change your password so that you can actually remember it. And basically you would just go in here, type in your new password.
All right, so the best browser for Adderpit, we have a question about that. Right now it is Google Chrome. And so if you do have Google Chrome on your computer, we do ask that you use Adderpit for that.
And I can type today, but we'll keep going.
So as you guys may have noticed during this, the passwords for Adderpit are supposed to be strong passwords, so they must include uppercase and lowercase letters, as well as numbers and some type of special characters. We have a question about changing the team registrar for a school. And so we do understand that there are situations where registrars will need to be changed. And so if that does happen, please email us because we have administrative control over Adderpit, so we can go ahead and go in and fix that for you.
All right. So just to go back to that point about spirit teams, we do have a cap at 30 competitors per spirit team. We are reaching out to any spirit team that goes over that, making sure that they are aware of that and splitting them up if we need to, just to ensure that we have a fair tournament for everyone involved.
All right, so we have another question right now asking to explain the spirit team concept one more time. And so we just want to be clear that this year, no team from a high school will be allowed to have a spirit team with more than 30 competitors. And so teams right now in the Adderpit portal might have gone ahead and added participants from other schools, and they may be above 30, but we're currently in the process of communicating with each of those teams to ensure that before registration ends, all teams are compliant to MIST rules. And so if you guys are registrars that are tuning into this webinar, you may have noticed that we sent out some emails last night with individual team rosters where we're helping you guys work through the process and picking up any potential registration red flags beforehand. And we want to ensure that this is, the best MIST and that all teams are complying with MIST rules, and that includes spirit teams and normal high school teams.
So just continuing on through our Adderpit demonstration, let's make this person a registrar who's also a competitor. And when we do this and submit, it will take you to our checklist in a few seconds. That goes through everything you need to do to make sure your team is ready to go for Mist Weekend. First thing that you have to do is you have to go ahead and create a team. So here's where Spirit teams come in really important. When you go to create your team name, if you are joining a Spirit team, what you want to do is you want to have the name of your Spirit team. In this case, we'll just do Spirit team, followed by the name of your high school. This allows us to recognize that there is a Spirit team formed, but we also have to look at each individual high school because that's how you're going to be competing for group events.
Also, on the admin side of AdderPit, if you enter your Spirit team's name in this specific format, it allows all of the schools in a Spirit team to appear together, and so that way they're not separate. And that helps us with not only awards, but also with competitions and making sure that everything is just running smoothly in sports as well. So please make sure that you're using this format.
Yep. So like we mentioned before, it is very important that you enroll with your own high school. Even if you are joining a Spirit team that has multiple high schools, you want to join your own high school, which in this case is Ace Academy, and make sure you denote that when you are creating your team name. Right. So now that we've gone ahead and created the team, let's see, it'll allow us to invite team members.
All right, so we have a question is that if Spirit teams have not properly formatted their name, can they go back and change it? Right now, you as your registrar account or coach account can't go back and change that. And so please email us and we'll work through it because that does involve a little bit of work on the admin side. And sometimes it does happen where we will need to ask students to note down their registration and then register again. Because sometimes we do end up having to change the team. So please just contact us for that because that is a very specific situation that we have to deal with in very specific steps.
All right, so just going through, you can invite more team members. Basically, you'll put in their name, their email address, and the role you want them to play, whether they are a coach competitor for the team. And then just submit this form for everyone you want to invite. It'll send them an email that will have a link to go in and enroll with that school. And then once you do that, you can go ahead and start your registration.
All right, and so this, once again, is your main landing page, and that's going to be very important for registrars and coaches just to kind of keep track of how everything's working. And so this is your main registration portal. So here you'll be able to see the names of the students on your team, their email addresses, and their competition registration alongside if they've paid their fees or not.
So when you want to register for your own registration competitions, you'll go in here for each type of competition. You can pick one, and so we'll just do one of each, and go ahead and submit this. There are a couple of national rules that go into registration. One is that if you are enrolled in a sports competition, you have to be enrolled in at least one non-sports as well, meaning you can't do just soccer or just basketball. You have to compete in something else as well.
And another thing that we like to keep mindful of is that for the group projects and bracket projects, you're only allowed to participate with other students from your high school. So if you are in a Spirit team and say you go to Ace Academy, right, in the Spirit team, Ace Academy students cannot compete with other students from another school in the same Spirit team for debate, for example, or MISPOL because of the nationals mandate. So if you are an Ace Academy student that is doing MISPOL, you have to ensure that the other students on your team doing MISPOL are also from Ace Academy.
So, do you have any questions so far?
All right, just feel free to continue to send in those questions through the chat because we understand that you guys have questions and we'd like to answer all of them. And so what we're going to do now is we've shown the competitor registration, so now you guys know how to sign up for competitions if you're a competitor, and we've also shown you how to create a team as a registrar and inviting team members and just coordinating registration. A very important part of registration is requesting the coach's approval. So if you go on the home page for Adderpit, you'll see that towards the bottom of the menu where it shows everything that you can do, it says coordinate team payment, then request coach approval and team registration approved. So those are the three main steps that come into finalizing your registration. And so first, it's just making sure that your team has paid on time and that anybody that has any fees or anybody that has any scholarships has that reflected in the system. And then after everybody has paid, you can go ahead and request your coach's approval. So that's where the registrar goes in and decides, okay, I've made sure that all the competitors are happy with the competitions they've registered for. I know everyone on this team attends the correct high school, and I know that everybody has paid. So this is where you begin and you submit a request to your coach where the coach can sign off on it, and that officially seals registration. After registration is sealed, it cannot be opened again. So please make sure that you're sealing registration when you are sure that all competitors and coaches and guests that are on your team are satisfied with what they have in the Adderpit system. And then for guest registration, you'll find that you can register guests through the Adderpit portal. And this is the same for competitors and for coaches and registrars. And so guests have two options. They can either register beforehand or they can register afterwards. So if you register beforehand, you will register through this page here on the website where a coach, registrar, or competitor will sponsor you. And if not, the guests just show up the weekend of and we have them registered there and the price is the same. We have another question. If somebody has lost their school ID, what can they show instead at check-in? All right, so we understand that some students have lost their school IDs, or there are some students that don't attend a school where IDs are created and distributed to them. So for that, inshallah, we're going to be releasing a registration flowchart later on to help you guys with that. But just keep in mind that we check for two things at on-site registration, okay? There is your permission form, and then there's proof of age and proof of enrollment. So the school ID typically serves as that kind of 2-in-1 thing where you have both your proof of age and your proof of enrollment in that high school. And so if you don't have one, what you can do is bring a government-issued ID that has your photo on it, so a passport or a driver's license or driver's permit, and alongside that, bring a report card or a transcript or something that shows that you actually attend the school in question. And then, does early registration mean having your whole team registered or just as a school? Are you asking in terms of having the entire Spirit team registered or just your high school? If you could clarify that, we'll go ahead and answer that later. Okay, so question on the Spirit team. Suppose her Spirit team has 26 students, and can she add 4 more students from another school under the Spirit team? Yes, as long as these 4 students do not bring any one of the existing schools over that 15 cap that we have. So say there are 12 students from ABC High School. If adding these 4 brings that 12 to 16, then you won't be able to continue with that. And just keep in mind, each school has to be under 15.
So if all these 26 students are from the same school, they are ineligible to create a Spirit team, even if the total number is under 30. So if all these 26 students are from the same high school, they can't bring in those 4 more students because they can't really join another Spirit team, and those 4 students would have to go and find another Spirit team to join.
Okay, so we have a question that someone was the coach of a different team a few years ago, and now they'll be coaching Peachtree Ridge. And so they went to sign up on Adderpit, and you're set as a part. Okay, so what you can do there is log into your existing Adderpit account, And then you can go ahead and email us for the school code for Peachtree Ridge High School. And then you'll find the option down here. As you can see, we're showing you on the system. One of the later options is to change the school. So the very last one on personal options. And so if you are the team registrar, you'll have to email us so we can appoint somebody else as the registrar before we go ahead and change your high school. But, just email us in that situation. And then does early registration mean having your whole team registered or just as a school? And so basically early registration is just a way that competitors can register. And early and late really just denote the amount that you're paying in terms of your registration cost. So even if only half your school is registered, that's okay, because a team is just required to be registered by the late registration deadline, which for this year is February 28th. And so your entire team doesn't have to be registered, but any students that is registered during early registration, it's good for them because they don't have to pay the late registration fee.
And another question that we have is, if a few students want to join our school and they're from another school that doesn't have a MIS team, is that possible? Would this be considered a spirit team? Yes, this would be considered a spirit team. They would have to register with their own high school and create a spirit team with your team. Now, if your team is ineligible to create a spirit team because you are over that 15 competitor cap, unfortunately, these students would have to go and join another spirit team. Also, if that school already has a team and these 4 competitors want to join as a different team that is unfortunately against the rules, they would have to go with the rest of their school and compete with them.
And so if you have any further questions about what you have in terms of that specific situation, please email us. And we just really want to push that, do whatever it takes to mobilize competitors within your individual high schools. So if you're a small team, before you join a spirit team, it comes down to marketing this and going out and using the toolkit that we showed you guys earlier on the website and showing people the MIST 101 presentation and getting people hyped to join MIST. And so we really do ask that teams try to do whatever they can to mobilize teams and their students in their school. And they don't have to be Muslim. So you can reach out to, say, the Jewish Student Union or the basketball team at their school to come play basketball at MIST. You can reach out to all the different clubs you have. Debate club can come and debate at MIST, And so just go ahead and go through and try to really just push MIST in your school. Okay, yay, you were able to change schools. Good job.
All right, so now that we've shown you some of that registrar side, let's go ahead and get into our coach account. And we can go ahead and show you what a coach would see.
All right, and just to, kind of add on that, mobilizing students from your high school, we do have a MIST 101 presentation, and that actually includes a flyer you can go ahead and post around your school. So definitely take a look at that if you haven't already.
All right, so now that we're a coach registered with the spirit team we just made, you can go ahead and see everyone's registration and email address. This is very important for when you want to make sure everyone has the correct registrations before you finalize your team registration.
Because this is the email that we'll be sending all official miscommunication to for the student. So just ensure that they have the correct email there, because if there's anything that pops up that we need to contact them for, we'll be using that email.
Yeah. And for coaches, there is a $25 fee that they have to pay. Once everyone has paid and the registrar sends over the team registration, you can go in here and approve the team registration, and that will finalize and lock in your team for MIST 2019. At that point, we can't make any changes, so you want to triple check everything make sure everyone's registered for the right competitions, all their information is correct, everyone has paid, lock in, and then start preparing for Miss 2019 because it is coming up.
And so for the coach fees for registration, what you're going to do is you'll find that the Adderpit system will not charge you a fee right now. And so what's going to happen is our finance team will be emailing you guys a link based on the email provided with your Adderpit account, and that will have a PayPal invoice where you can go in and pay your coach's fee. So just be on the lookout for that email. Our finance team is working on getting those out, and students, you guys might have seen some emails in your inboxes about paying your competitor fees. And so the coach has the power to approve registration. So once that registrar sends in the request, you'll be able to approve it from here by clicking on approve team registration when the time comes for that. And just once again, we really want to emphasize, coaches, please make sure you're over the age of, you're 21 or older by March 22nd, which is the first day of the tournament.
And another thing for coaches, we want to make sure that we have adequate coaches for each team. So we ask that you have at least one coach for every 10 competitors on your team. This way, the coaches have enough people there to really just be responsible for their students, make sure everyone's going to their competitions, make sure everyone's in the right place, and we can have a nice, smooth mist.
All right, so we have a question. If someone is on a spirit team, can students from different teams join together for group projects? All right, so unfortunately with the spirit team system, per a nationals mandate, the only people that can compete in a group project must all attend the same high school. So for the spirit team that we're using in this example, all the students that do Miss Bowl or that do debate or short film or any other group project have to attend ACE Academy. And so if there's another school within your spirit team, you guys won't be able to collaborate on group projects. However, you guys can collaborate on sports. So if you guys don't have enough basketball or soccer players, don't be afraid, because we can link up the spirit teams that way. And just another thing that we really want to push is that we're really want to make sure that everybody is the right age. And so we will turn away coaches at registration, unfortunately, if they're not the right age. And same thing with students. If they're in the incorrect high school or over the age, what ends up happening is that this is a nationals mandate. And so it is grounds for disqualifications to just make sure that you're the right age and you're joined with the right school. And then just to add on that question about group projects, the minimum requirements for group projects is one competitor. So if you are one competitor, don't be afraid of doing it alone, because sometimes there are students that come into improv and they're a one-person team, but they're a powerhouse at improv. And so just focus on trying your best at these competitions, and really don't be afraid of being, on the lower side of that registration comp. And, in the past, a lot of teams with just one competitor have won their competition. So it does not hinder you in any way. Then another question we have is, if students who didn't register with the team during early registration, they will register during late, considering this is a team from the same high school? Yes. So say the registrar in our scenario, ACE Academy, right? They open up registration and you have 5 students that register during early registration. These 5 students go ahead, they get in, they finalize their competitions, and they pay their fees. And then if 7 more competitors want to register later on, but they missed early registration, they can still register as late. And they also register under ACE Academy since it is the team from the same high school. And so now what we're going to do is we're just going to open up the last bit of our webinar to just questions and answers that you guys have. So continue to go ahead and send those in. All right, so just another thing that we want to mention is that for the FAQs that we have on our website, those will most likely address a lot of the questions that you guys have, especially when it comes to registration and really the intricate questions that you have about the nuances of registration. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to drop the link to that page right now in the chat. And so you guys can go explore that page. And so if you have any questions, see if they're answered here. And hopefully we have a good explanation of it. All right, so we have a question. What is the sign language competition? All right, so ASL is something that we're offering new this year. And so that is a competition that our team has been working on it. And basically, it's like spoken word, but you do it with American Sign Language. So you'll be signing your way through a speech or a poem, using the writing and oratory prompts that are given for it. And so if you go on our website, you'll be able to find the complete rule book with instructions for the pilot competitions that we offer at Mist Atlanta. And so within that, you'll find instructions on how the sign language competition will run, a description of it alongside with the ballots that judges will use to evaluate you. All right, another question we have, what is the minimum number of students that can make a high school team? There is no minimum. As long as you yourself want to go ahead and sign up for Mist, you can do that.
Yep, I was on team 1 my senior year of high school, so really there is no minimum. As long as you want to come into Mist, we will take you.
And really, when it comes down to marketing, like my first year with Mist, there were only 4 people on my team, but alhamdulillah, by my last year, there were 35. And so it really just comes down to pushing out Mist and getting other people involved and excited about it. All right, and then we have another question about hotel registration, right? So with hotels, teams book hotels on their own. That's not something that happens through through like Adderpit or something else that Mist Atlanta goes through and does. And so what we're gonna do is we are working with hotels right now. Our logistics team has been diligently working to get discounts with these hotels that we partner with. And so what we're gonna do, inshallah, is a list will be coming out soon, inshallah, during February. And so what teams will have to do is then contact the hotels on this list and let them know that you're coming for Mist Atlanta, and then they'll help you through the booking process.
So if a Spirit team does get over 30 people, Mist Atlanta registration team, me and Maria, email them, we talk to them, figure out exactly what we need to do, but we are working with them to make sure that they all stay under 30. That means we need to remove one of the schools from the Spirit team to bring everyone down to 30. We will go ahead and do that.
And one thing that we're doing new this year is, as coaches and registrars, you guys must have seen, we're sending out rosters. So 1 2 weeks before and 1 week before early and late registration end. And so what we do there is we evaluate all teams at that point. We look at all the students on the team, and if they're with the correct team, we go in and we're verifying these addresses. And we're making sure that the coaches, that they meet the ratio and that there's enough of them, and that competitors are registered correctly for the right competitions, and enough competitions to compete. And so just keep a lookout on your email, because we're trying to be proactive about this and see anything that could potentially be a problem beforehand and address it then. And so we are monitoring all the Spirit teams right now to make sure that nobody goes above 30 people. And then with the hotel question, another option that teams have is that if they can't arrange hotels, they can also choose to commute back and forth. And we find that this helps, especially in terms of students with teams that live closer to our venue, which is UGA. And so that, once again, is something that you guys arrange for yourselves. But obviously, you don't have to do a hotel. So if your team wants to carpool, you guys can carpool too.
All right, so back to the question about group competitions. Unfortunately, this is a national rule when it comes to spirit teams, but please email us at atlanta@getmystified.com, and we'll be happy to talk about this further.
Yes, and we have the best interests of all teams at heart, and so inshallah we'll try to foster a conversation there where we can make everything as feasible for your team as possible. The next question we have is, how many coaches do we need to go to Mist? You just need, we do like that teams meet the ratio of 1 coach per every 10 competitors. And so if you are a small team, then you really just need at least 1 coach. And so we're working on getting the American Sign Language link for you guys, because we did have a question about that. And so I'm going to drop that in the chat right now. And so these are the writing and oratory topics that Miss Atlanta, that Miss Nationals has, made. And then we're also going to drop the rule book for ASL in specific. So you guys can take a look at those links. And when it comes down to coaches, we always would prefer that students have more coaches than less. And so one way that we aim to help is we do have a form that's going out. And so it's for helping competitors that don't have enough coaches on their team, and they can fill out this form, and we'll try to go through and link them with coaches in the area. Because, when it comes down to coaches, these guys are chaperones, but ultimately there is a lot of liability because these coaches have to ensure that the students are, that the students are competing and that everything is running smoothly. And we know that's a large task. And so we'd rather have too many coaches on a team than not enough people to do this job, because it is quite a monumental job.
And as a coach, you should be receiving emails from us. Last night, we sent out 2-week rosters to all of the registrars and coaches on a team. If you are a coach and you didn't receive an email from us last night, please email us at atlanta@getmystified.com, and we'll make sure that you get the information that you're supposed to get and that you are on further mailing lists for your team.
Yes, and just once again, please double check that the email address you have listed in AdderPit is the correct email address that we can reach. All right, so another question we have is, if you're not a part of a spirit team, can you still join other sports teams? So the way that sports works is that, say there's 2 students from a team that's not a part of a spirit team. They go to a big high school, but there's only 2 people interested in basketball. What we do is, after registration ends, the registration team works with the sports team, and we help facilitate this so that there are enough players on all teams. And so this is an exception for sports and sports only, where we'll go ahead and link schools together to make sure that there's enough soccer players on both sides of the game to ensure that there is an even playing field for all competitors. And just, remember guys, keep on sending your questions in through the comments. What is the average total cost for MIST, and how can you fundraise? Okay, so the average cost for MIST, that ultimately does depend on how many people are on your team. And, it really comes down to a team by team basis. So we do have a fundraising PowerPoint as part of our toolkit. And so if you go on the Mist Atlanta website, we have a table that breaks down all the prices, and we also have creative ideas to fundraise in there. And so if your school doesn't support selling sweets, you can take a look at one of the other forms that we have of registering, of getting the money, because we understand that there are creative ways to fundraise. You guys could do like a car wash, or you guys could sell candles, if you're not allowed to do the normal bake sale that most people do. And then reaching out to local businesses by your school. And we're gonna put the link to the presentation for fundraising in the chat. And so we're just gonna send that to you guys right now. And so we just sent that presentation, and so you can take a look at it. And once again, really think outside the box with these creative fundraising ideas. You guys could have an art night or an ice skating night or car washing, restaurants, trivia night where you charge students $5 to come in, and then you guys play board games, and then all of the proceeds from that goes through and helps support your team. And so what we're gonna do right now is we're just gonna show you the toolkit more in detail. So we'll go to the website and show you guys how to access that.
Yep, so the toolkit is located under our resources tab at the NIST toolkit link. And so for fundraisers, you can click on this. It'll open up a presentation on how to fundraise. And it goes through the costs that we have, basically averages for if you include your hotel stay, your uniforms, and so forth.
All right, so another question we have right now is about, with the sports thing and where we join schools together. Can they request that a specific teams join together? We do like to ensure that students are participating with the students that they want to. So if you do have a request, please email us. But keep in mind that there are a lot of schools and a lot of competitors that we do have to link up. So our sports team will try their best. But at the end of the day, we can not guarantee anything, but definitely request it. We'll be sending out a form, inshallah, sometime soon. All right, when is the money collected for fundraising? You guys can start fundraising right now if you really want. Some teams have already started, and so it just comes down to thinking of creating creative ideas and going ahead. There's no rules to this. There's no rules to when you guys have to start and when you guys have to end and how much money you guys have to collect. Just be very creative, think outside the box, and go ahead and get started as soon as you can so that you can maximize how much you guys can fundraise.
Yep. And of course, the deadlines to pay are depending on when you register. For early and late registration, the final deadline for registration is February 28th. Early registration ends on February 8th. Hotels, if you're booking a hotel, that is something you would be paying for yourself. So it would depend on when the hotel wants the money, and same for any uniforms you're ordering. Really, it depends on the timeline for your own payments.
Yeah, so that does come down to a team-by-team basis. So just, have like a sheet of paper where you have a list of the missed deadline for, like, say, early registration ends February 8th. So if you register early, you have to pay by February 8th for your registration fees. And that you have to pay the hotel by this specific date, and you have to get the uniforms by this specific date. That does come down to a team-by-team basis. And so there's no rules to it, but once again, ensure that you're meeting all of the deadlines.
Right. So on here we have a lot of ideas we have, and we also have ways to make maybe going to MEST a bit cheaper, such as booking your hotels in advance. Typically, when you book a hotel in advance, they give you a cheaper rate, especially if you can get a funnel rate. You can also do maybe an Airbnb, which tends to be cheaper than hotels in the area. So if you can find something that your team wants to do, you could do an Airbnb as well. Or if you can arrange transportation, you can commute back and forth. That is, again, on a team-by-team basis. Register early. We do have early registration that is cheaper than the late registration. So you can save some money by registering before February 8th. And instead of maybe buying your uniforms, you could create your own spirit, either shirts or whatever, decorate your own outfits, come up with something that represents your team, but may be cheaper than getting them professionally printed.
And this can be really fun. You guys could throw a huge party where, you just get a few t-shirts and everybody brings in like paints or something. And, don't be afraid of making fundraising fun. And so just, think outside the box and be creative and have fun doing it, because, at the end of the day, MIST is a great experience and you guys really want to enjoy it. And so why not build hype by having a spirit gear meeting where everybody comes together and you guys construct drums or flags, for your teams. And, even in the past, my team, we used to have an annual banner making party where all the teams would come together at somebody's house and we'd make the biggest banner we could. And so it helps to connect the members of your team together, which ultimately helps you guys with spirit competitions, because now you have a banner and you have drums and you have flags, but your team is also really hyped and excited for Mist. And there are spirit points, and that is factored when we're looking at spirit awards. And so you guys can get hype points and, just make it fun and practice the chants and do everything you guys can, because, there's competitions and then there's also spirit.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, there's a lot that goes into Mist with registration and fundraising, but we want it to be fun for everyone. So do what you can, take every aspect of Mist and make it fun. Build hype, get your team together. All these activities are a great way to build team bonds, get people excited for Mist, and just get them ready to go into the tournament day of, be excited, be ready to compete, and be familiar with each other before they even go in.
And if anything, what that does is that goes back and that helps more people become interested in this for the next year. And so now we just want to ask the final questions. And so if you guys have any last pressing questions that you have, please send them in the chat. And if you don't want to send them in the chat right now, or it's a very specific question regarding a scenario that you're in, please email us. And so we're going to go down and we're going to post the email once again in this chat. And so please feel free to email us, because we're ready to help with any concerns and questions you guys have with registration. And communication is key. All right, so I have a question. Four students from four different schools want to join a team, as their schools do not have a Mist team. What is the procedure? So the procedure there would be for each of these students, once again, to register as their own team. So please just go ahead and email us with the specifics for your scenario, and we'll go ahead and address it.
All right, well, thank you for joining us on our first registration webinar. We will have another one later in February for late registration as well. So if you have any questions by then, please come out and see us again. Thank you so much, and Assalamu alaikum.